Fellas, UFC 294 just took place, and all I can say is that was one of the weirdest cards we've ever watched. There were so many weird ref decisions, there were so many fouls, the doctor stoppage, and some fights that just went completely different to how I expected it. We're going to be recapping most of the fights on the card. I've picked 3 highlight prelims to kind of showcase, and I'm going to be showcasing the rest of the main card, just having a talk about it and my thoughts about it. Let me know your thoughts about this card in the comments, because I think it was a crazy card. But we're going to start off with the debut of Sharapudtin Magomedov. He took on Bruno Silva for his debut, and he looked alright. He didn't look absolutely incredible, but one thing I will say is he's got amazing kicks. He has some of the best kicks I've seen in the UFC, and that's a big statement to say. But Sharapudtin has amazing kicks, like incredible kicks. The only problem for me is his boxing defense. There were multiple times in that fight where Bruno Silva was tagging Sharapudtin, and if he goes against someone who's, you know, a better striker than Bruno Silva, and Bruno Silva's not necessarily a bad striker, but especially not to face on your debut, but if Sharapudtin faces someone who can actually strike properly and can grapple, because I don't know why, I thought Sharapudtin will be able to grapple better than he did. He was getting out grappled pretty comfortably by Bruno Silva. Bruno Silva wasn't really doing much, but he was getting out grappled, and that's by Bruno Silva. And I thought because of the Magomedov last name, he should be able to grapple at least 25% in his bloodline, but if he faces a proper grappler in the middleweight division like Khamzat, obviously I'm just picking a random grappler, I'm not saying they're going to fight, but or even Bo Nickel, he's going to have real problems because his grappling needs improving. But Bruno Silva's tough. Obviously, he's not been finished in his UFC career, I believe. Couldn't get finished by Alex Pereira, and neither could Sharapudtin. But to be fair, in the first 2 rounds at least, Sharapudtin was doing way better than Alex Pereira did. At least in the first 2 anyway. The 3rd round was definitely a Bruno Silva round, unless you want to count the ground strikes from Sharapudtin. But Shara needs to fight a ranked opponent now. He's got a lot of hype on his name. He's a prospect. He's just fought Bruno Silva. I think it's time for a ranked opponent. If he does that to Bruno Silva, and Bruno Silva's not a bum, I think we give Sharapudtin a ranked opponent. I'm not bothered who. Maybe it's, I don't know, a Chris Curtis or an Andre, not Andre Muniz. Maybe even an Andre Muniz, I don't know. But a ranked opponent for Sharapudtin, I wouldn't mind. But good win. He's a really good kicker, but there's a few holes in his game that he needs to correct if he wants to stay, if he wants to stay on this undefeated streak that he's gone on. But decent fight. Then we move on to Nathaniel Wood and Mohammad Naimov. Yeah, this was a really controversial fight. Listen, I'm always going to back Nathaniel Wood because he's from the UK. I'm going to back the UK fighters, but yeah, this is a really frustrating fight to watch. First of all, Mohammad Naimov, I'm not going to call him a weight bully. I'm just going to say Nathaniel Wood is very undersized at featherweight. He's built like a bantamweight. It should have been a bantamweight bout. Not a bantamweight bout, but I mean, Nathaniel Wood should be fighting at bantamweight. And yeah, he had the weight disadvantage. On top of that, there was so many times during this fight where Mohammad Naimov was cheating. He grabbed the glove at the end of the 3rd round when he was getting nearly finished. He groin shotted multiple times. He grabbed the cage. There was just so many times during this fight where Mohammad Naimov was cheating, so it was really frustrating to watch. But yeah, this was really frustrating. Wood didn't have to take this fight, but he did. I'm not too happy the fact that Nathaniel Wood's fighting at featherweight. I'd much rather see him at bantamweight, because I feel like Usman and Magomedov's a bantamweight, and he's bigger than Nathaniel Wood, so it makes a lot of sense for Nathaniel Wood to go back to bantamweight. He's a dangerous striker as well as Nathaniel Wood. There were multiple times in that fight where he rocked Naimov. The only problem is his fight IQ. There was a time when he rocked him and then he went for a single leg takedown. I don't understand why he did that, but good win for Mohammad Naimov, I guess. Not a lot of people like him because, again, there were so many cheats. The ref should have at least taken a point. Not that it would have, changed the result of the fight, but he should have just done it anyway. So quite disappointing to watch, and it wasn't the most fun fight to watch either. It was just a lot of holding, but fair play to Mohammad Naimov. Wood's not finished. I just think he needs to go down to bantamweight. Not that he's looked terrible at featherweight. I just think he's undersized, and when he goes against someone that's taller and stronger than him, like Naimov, he's always going to lose. So good win by Naimov though. Then we had Muhammad Mokaev versus Tim Elliot, the featured prelim of the night. Tim Elliot didn't look that bad. I said in my video not long ago where I said fighters who should retire, I said Tim Elliot should retire. And I still stand by that, but he didn't look necessarily bad for a 36-year-old in the flyweight division. And you got to realize, Muhammad Mokaev's 23. Tim Elliot, he's got great fight IQ. Honestly, there was multiple times in that fight where the experience really showed over Mohammad Mokaev. He won the 1st round. If you wanted to give him the 2nd round, you could as well. But I think it's time for him to retire. He's not going to be ranked top 10 anymore. Mokaev just beating him. He didn't look terrible, but there's nothing left to prove. You're 36 years old. It's only going to get worse as time goes on. And Mokaev has a bright future. A lot of people have been saying, oh, he's going to get slept in his next fight. And maybe he does, because I feel like the UFC are going to rush Mokaev because he's 23 years old. If he keeps going on this winning streak, he's got the chances of being the tied youngest champion in the UFC. One thing I will say is that Mokaev, I'm scared about him against contenders like Manel Kape. When he goes against he called out Kara France, and I'm not sure that he's going to be able to be. I mean, he wasn't. I'm not going to say struggling, but he wasn't like dominating Tim Elliot. And I can't imagine doing that. Like, if he doesn't pull off a submission win like he did against Elliot, against someone like Kara France, I'm not sure what's in there for him. But it was a good win. He needs to fight a step. He needs to fight a step up. What am I saying? He needs to step up in competition now and fight a real contender. We'll see how he does against them because he's a hot prospect in the flyweight division. But yeah, that was a very, it was a dodgy win, but I mean, he did it. Then we move on to the main card, Said Magomedov versus Gafurov. Yeah, this fight ended really quickly. I think this fight ended faster than any other fight on the card. Yeah, it was a very quick fight. A little bit of feeling out. Said Magomedov using his range with his kicks, and then eventually Gafurov went in there, tried going for a little strike combination, and then fell into a guillotine, and it ended. Was it a guillotine or was it a Darce choke? I don't know. I'll have to watch it back, but yeah, he got submitted really quickly. Yeah, Said has nasty guillotines as well. Like I said, I'm not sure if that was a guillotine or a Darce choke, but his submissions, let's just say submissions, he's got nasty submissions in the UFC. I think he's on I think he's got multiple submissions in the first round as well now. I think he's got like a submission record as well for the fastest submissions. So fair play to Said Magomedov. Let's give him a ranked opponent. But for Gafurov, yeah, I mean, that's a shame. But yeah, that was a really fast finish by Said. Not much to say. It ended pretty quickly. We didn't really get to see much of him. Hopefully he can make a comeback after his loss in March. But yeah, decent win for Said Magomedov. Yeah, that's all I've got to say, really. Then we had another fight, Ikram Aliskerov versus Warlley Alves. Another quick fight. This fight ended in the first round as well. It was just basically the same thing. They were feeling each other out. And then eventually Ikram Aliskerov got the knockout with a flying knee, and then follow-up shots. Yeah, Aliskerov had a great knockout there. And I feel like if he goes against someone proper in the middleweight division, he could really put... I mean, he was booked against Costa back in UFC 291, and that would have been an interesting fight because Aliskerov's legit, man. He's a dangerous striker. He's powerful. He's got great accuracy as well. Aliskerov's going to be a dangerous striker for a lot of these middleweight contenders, and I think he should be booked against Bo Nickel or Paulo Costa. I'm not sure who's next for Bo Nickel, but I'm sure they're going to give him a proper tough opponent, like a ranked opponent next, or at least another prospect. We can't just keep giving him people like, GM3. Maybe they do Joe Pyfer or something, I don't know, but yeah, I think Ikram would do really well against a rematch not a rematch, but a rebook against Costa, maybe even a Marvin Vettori, because he's such a dangerous striker. But one thing I will say is the commentary was unbearable in this fight. Like, what was it? It was just Daniel Cormier throughout the entire fight talking about Paulo Costa's elbow injury. And it's good to clear it up, but it was just so random. There's a fight going on. There's a fight going on between Ikram and Alves, and all DC is talking about is the elbow injury of Paulo Costa. There was a time when John Anik even tried changing subject by talking about how Ikram Aliskerov's, using his kicks to his advantage, and then DC just kept going back to Paulo Costa's injury. The only thing that stopped him from talking about it was the knockout itself. So yeah, commentary was unbearable for this fight. It was just to all talk about Costa, but good win for Ikram Aliskerov. Let's give him someone like Marvin Vettori next, or Paulo Costa when he's ready. But yeah, good win for Ikram. Powerful, dangerous striker, and I can't wait to see him again. Then we had the featured fight, probably the most disappointing fight. The doctor needs to be sacked. There were multiple times. He did it in one of the prelim fights as well. The doctor for this fight was terrible. He goes up to Johnny Walker first of all, Johnny Walker, English isn't even his first language. He's in a screaming, loud crowd, and the doctor's asking him what countries he's in. And just because Johnny Walker doesn't immediately answer, he calls the fight off. Terrible, terrible stoppage. We didn't even get to see any bit of the fight. We got to see like 2 minutes of fighting, if that. It all got split up because Magomed Ankalaev hit an illegal knee. And one thing I know I said this before, but there were so many fouls during this fight. It was so, not the fight, the card. It was so annoying. We were robbed of this fight. I was really interested to see how this fight would go down between them both, because I feel like it's probably one of the closest on the card. I did pick Magomed Ankalaev to win, but it was probably one of the closest on the card. But yeah, that's annoying, man. It's really annoying. Johnny Walker, he got called off. They tried fighting after the fight as well when there was so many security in there breaking him up because they were trying to fight after the actual fight had happened. Well, not even a fight after I guess the fight got called off. They need to be rematched as soon as possible. I think, you know, what's stopping them from putting on UFC Sao Paulo? Put them as the co-main event. It's a Brazilian versus a Russian. UFC Sao Paulo next week. Maybe that's too stacked for a fight night. But let's do it in Sao Paulo, the Jailton Almeida versus Lewis card. I don't mind that. We need to book him ASAP, and I think that's the perfect card to do it because we were robbed. Sack the doctor. Yeah, we were robbed of this matchup, and I'm still annoyed about that robbery of a matchup. Not much to talk about. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. This has got a lot of hype around it. I don't think I've ever seen anyone out-grapple Usman like that. For round one, Chimaev might be the most dangerous middleweight for one round. Because he just out-grappled Usman like no one else. Covington couldn't do that. Leon Edwards, I know he tripped Usman and took him down, but he didn't out-grapple him like Khamzat did. Best way I can describe it is the way that Khamzat out-grappled Usman is the way that Usman out-grappled Leon Edwards in the second fight up until the knockout, but more dominantly. That was a dominant first round by Khamzat Chimaev, just out-grappling Usman. Second round, it was Khamzat shot for a few takedowns, didn't really get it, and it was just Usman beating him on the feet. Third round, I gave it to Khamzat Chimaev because for the majority of the round he was out grappling him, and then towards the end of the fight, that was when Usman had a lot of success. So when it was on the feet, Usman had a lot of success. The only problem with Khamzat is his striking needs to improve, man. He looks the same on the feet in every fight. His striking needs to improve. I understand he's looking for the takedown, but to say that he's got the threat of the takedown, I expected his striking to be a lot better than it was. I did predict him to win this fight. I think I got every single prediction right for this card as well, but yeah, he needs to work on his striking and his cardio as well. He was gassed. That was a 3-rounder with not much pace, and he was gassed. If he can get past someone like Dricustar, I truly do think he will be champion because of how good his grappling is. That was a dominant first round of grappling against one of the best grapplers in the UFC. So if Chimaev can get past Dricus du Plessis, who for me, in my opinion, is his toughest fight in the division, I think he smokes Adesanya. Unfortunately, he smokes, what's his name, Sean Strickland. The only tough test for Chimaev in the division for me is Dricus du Plessis. But yeah, Usman, he's not finished. Like, it's not like an immediate retire. He doesn't have to retire, but he didn't look great. He's got bad. We all knew he had bad knees. It's 10 days notice. It's against one of the biggest prospects in the UFC. So if Usman just wants to pick up a couple free wins here and there against some other contenders, I guess he can. I don't know if he's going to stick at welterweight or middleweight, but he could retire. I'm not sure what's next for Usman. Personally, if I had to book it, I would say retire, but it's not like a desperate retire. But yeah, and then the main event, I had a really weird feeling into this fight. I remember the first round started, and I kept thinking, I had a really weird feeling that Volk was going to get slept. I don't know why. I didn't expect it to be so early, but I had a really weird feeling that Volkanovski's going to get put to sleep in this fight, and it happened in the first round. I mean, he didn't really get put to sleep. He got dropped by a head kick, and I guess he was all wobbly and he couldn't continue, but good fight, for a good finish for Islam Makhachev there. That was a real, I'm still hard to process that. It was unfortunate for Volk. If Islam's the champion at 155, unfortunately, Volk can't move up. It is done. The rivalry's done. Islam will always win at 150. Well, maybe not always. I know it was on short notice and everything, but Islam's beaten him twice now. One by decision and one by stoppage. He's got to call it. He's got to call it quits. You know, you've got to just stay at 145 now. Fight Topuria. Maybe have a fourth fight with Holloway, but as long as Islam Makhachev's champ at 155, I don't think this trilogy can ever happen, and it's a shame because Volk's getting old now. I think he's going to retire in the next year after the Topuria fight, maybe. So I don't think Islam Makhachev loses to anyone in the division. I think he beats Gaethje. I mean, Gaethje could pose problems, but he's going to beat Gaethje. He's going to beat Oliveira. He beats pretty much every contender. But yeah, I had a really weird feeling this was going to happen. Good win for Islam, by the way. He showed that he can strike now. He's really well-rounded. He needs to be pound for pound above Volkanovski. Yeah, Volk should just stick at heavyweight. But yeah, this was a really weird card overall. So many weird decisions, doctor stoppages. But yeah, good win for Islam. I guess we just got to book him against Oliveira next. Unless we do Oliveira versus no, I don't even think that. No, let's just do Oliveira versus Islam. Or maybe we do Gaethje versus Islam, actually. Maybe that's the move. I think we should do Gaethje versus Islam, let Oliveira heal up, and then we do Oliveira versus the winner, I guess. Rematch the winner. But yeah, this card was crazy. Let me know your thoughts about this card. But it was such a weird card. But yeah, thank you for watching.